the night she was meant to break. She stood in front of the mirror longer than she needed to. Not because she was vain, but because she was afraid. Amelia Brooks gently smoothed the fabric of her midnight blue dress, fingers trembling as they traced the delicate stitching along the waist. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't designer. But it was clean, elegant, and chosen with intention. She wanted to look calm tonight. Strong. Unbothered. Even though her heart felt like it was slowly being crushed. The invitation lay open on the vanity beside her lipstick. The Whitmore Charity Gala. Hosted by the Whitmore Family Foundation. And right below it, in smaller, more personal handwriting. I hope you'll come. It's time we show everyone we've moved on. Nathan Whitmore. Her ex-fiancé. The man who had once promised her forever, and then destroyed her in silence. 6 months earlier, Amelia had believed her life was over. Nathan had ended their engagement with the cold efficiency of a business transaction. No fight. No tears. Just a calm explanation that she no longer fit into the future his family expected. She was too ordinary. Too soft. Too replaceable. That night, she had packed her things from the Whitmore estate while his mother supervised, correcting which gifts she was allowed to take. The ring was removed from her finger before the sun rose. And now, after 6 months of rebuilding herself piece by piece, Nathan wanted her back in that world, just long enough to remind everyone why she no longer belonged. Amelia almost didn't come. But she was tired of running. She applied one final swipe of lipstick, picked up her clutch, and whispered to her reflection, "You survived worse." The Whitmore estate glowed like a monument to power. Tall iron gates. Marble steps. Chandeliers bright enough to make the night sky irrelevant. Luxury cars lined the driveway like trophies, each worth more than Amelia's yearly salary at the nonprofit literacy center where she worked. As she stepped out of the car, her breath caught, not in awe but memory. This place had once been her home. Inside, the ballroom buzzed with polished laughter and champagne glasses clinking in rehearsed harmony. Women in designer gowns smiled with their eyes but measured each other with quiet cruelty. Men discussed investments while pretending not to notice who mattered and who didn't. And the moment Amelia entered, everything paused. Heads turned. Whispers bloomed like wildfire. That's her. Nathan's ex. The one who thought she could marry into the Whitmores. Amelia felt it instantly. The judgment, the curiosity, the barely concealed amusement. She straightened her posture and walked forward anyway. Then she saw him. Nathan Whitmore stood near the stage, tall and immaculate in a custom tuxedo, his smile effortless and practiced. He looked exactly the same as the man she had loved, and nothing like the man who had left her broken. Their eyes met. His smile sharpened. "Well," he said softly when he reached her, voice dripping with false warmth. "You actually came." "You invited me," Amelia replied evenly. "Yes, I did." He leaned closer. "Try not to embarrass yourself tonight. These people don't forget." And just like that he turned away, leaving her standing alone. The humiliation wasn't loud. That was the worst part. It lived in the small things, the way conversations lowered when she walked past. The pitying glances. The smug smiles from women who now wore the future she'd once imagined for herself. She told herself to breathe. She told herself this didn't define her. But then Nathan stepped onto the stage. He tapped his glass lightly. Silence fell. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," Nathan began smoothly. "This foundation means a great deal to my family, and to me personally. Especially after everything I've learned this year." Amelia's stomach dropped. "Growth," he continued. "Maturity. Knowing when something isn't right, even if you wanted it to be." His gaze found her. "And knowing when someone simply isn't meant for the life you were building." Laughter rippled through the room. Not cruel laughter. Polite laughter. The kind that hurts more. "I almost made a very serious mistake," Nathan said, lifting his glass. "I nearly married someone who believed love was enough. Someone who didn't understand legacy. Responsibility. Standards." More laughter. Amelia's ears rang. "She tried very hard," he added, mock sympathy in his tone. "But not everyone is meant for greatness. Some people are born ordinary." The word hit her like a slap. Her vision blurred. She could feel tears threatening, but she would not cry here. Not for them. Then, someone moved. A man near the bar set down his drink. He was tall. Broad-shouldered. Dressed simply compared to the others, but there was something about the way he carried himself. Calm, unshakable, controlled. Anger burned quietly in his eyes. He walked toward Amelia. Straight through the crowd. The murmurs faded as he passed. Even Nathan faltered mid-sentence. The man stopped directly in front of her. "I'm sorry," he said clearly, "but I won't listen to this." Gasps echoed. Nathan stared. "And who are you?" The man turned slowly toward the stage. "My name is Lucas Hale." The room shifted. Whispers spread fast. "Hale? The Hale Group? The self-made billionaire?" Lucas's voice remained steady. "What you're doing isn't strength. It's insecurity. Publicly humiliating someone who once loved you doesn't make you powerful. It makes you small." Nathan's face flushed. "This is my family's event. And this is a human being," Lucas interrupted, gesturing toward Amelia. "And she deserves respect." Then, without asking permission, without hesitation, Lucas gently cupped Amelia's face and kissed her. Not rushed. Not aggressive. Intentional. The room erupted. Phones came out. Whispers exploded. A glass shattered somewhere behind them. Amelia felt the world tilt. When Lucas pulled back, his forehead rested briefly against hers. "You don't belong in places that break you," he whispered. "Come with me." Nathan stood frozen. For the first time in his life. Powerless. When the masks began to fall. The night air outside the Whitmore estate felt colder than it should have been. Amelia didn't realize she was shaking until Lucas Hale loosened his grip slightly, giving her space without letting go completely. The warmth of his hand grounded her, even as her mind struggled to catch up with what had just happened. Behind them, the mansion doors burst open. Nathan's voice followed, sharp, furious, wounded pride echoing across the marble steps. "You think you can just walk away?" Amelia flinched instinctively. Lucas didn't. He turned slowly, calm as still water before a storm. Nathan stormed down the steps, his tuxedo immaculate but his composure shredded. Right behind him came Margaret Whitmore, his mother, draped in diamonds and entitlement, her expression razor-sharp. "This is outrageous," Margaret snapped, eyes locking onto Amelia first. "I always knew you'd try something desperate, but this? Dragging a stranger into our family's name?" Lucas stepped slightly closer to Amelia, not in front of her, but beside her. A subtle statement. "This has nothing to do with her desperation," Lucas said evenly. "And everything to do with your son's cruelty." Nathan scoffed. "You assaulted my guest." "I kissed a woman who didn't object," Lucas replied. "If that offends you, perhaps examine why." Margaret's lips thinned. "Mr. Hale, is it?" I recognize the name. The tech billionaire who thinks money replaces breeding. A few guests lingered nearby, pretending not to listen while absorbing every word. Lucas smiled faintly. "Funny. I built everything I have. You inherited yours." That landed. Nathan bristled. "You don't belong here." Lucas met his gaze without blinking. "I was invited. Unlike your manners." Amelia felt something inside her shift, not fear anymore but clarity. For the first time that night she spoke. "I didn't come here to embarrass anyone," she said quietly. "I came because you asked me to prove I was mature enough to move on. You didn't want peace. You wanted an audience." Nathan stared at her, stunned. Margaret recovered quickly. "You always did confuse ambition with entitlement." Lucas's voice hardened. "And you confuse status with decency." A car door opened behind them. A man in his 40s stepped forward, composed, observant. "Lucas," he said calmly. "The car's ready." Lucas nodded. "Thank you, Daniel." Nathan sneered. "This isn't over." Lucas finally laughed, soft, amused, unafraid. "For you? It is." Amelia felt something extraordinary in that moment. Freedom. They drove away in silence. The mansion lights faded behind them, and with them, the weight Amelia had carried for 6 months. After several minutes, Lucas spoke. "I owe you an explanation." She nodded. They stopped at a quiet cafe tucked away from the city's glare. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and warmth. Simple, real, human. They sat across from each other. "I didn't plan that," Lucas said honestly. "But I've been where you were tonight. Publicly dismissed. Reduced to something less." Amelia listened. "I grew up poor," he continued. "Scholarships. Side jobs. People telling me I didn't belong in boardrooms. When I finally succeeded, I promised myself I'd never stay silent when power was used to humiliate." "Why me?" Amelia asked. Lucas met her eyes. "Because dignity recognizes dignity." Outside, phones buzzed. Inside the Whitmore estate, damage control had begun. By morning, the video would be everywhere. And by then, the truth would be impossible to hide. When the world found out who she really was, morning came without mercy. Amelia woke to the sound of her phone vibrating non-stop on the nightstand. Messages stacked one after another, calls she didn't recognize, notifications flooding every app she owned. For a moment, disoriented, she wondered if the gala had been a dream. Then she remembered the kiss. Her breath caught. She sat up slowly and reached for her phone. The first headline she saw made her hands go cold. Billionaire halts elite gala to defend humiliated woman, kisses her in front of ex-fiancé. Below it was a video clip. Her video clip. The moment Nathan's voice dripped with cruelty. The laughter. Lucas stepping forward. The kiss. Millions of views. She dropped the phone onto the bed, heart pounding. For years, Amelia Brooks had lived quietly. She worked long hours at the Children's Literacy Foundation. She volunteered on weekends. She paid rent late sometimes. She avoided attention, avoided conflict, avoided anything that felt too loud. And now, the entire internet knew her face. Her phone rang again. This time it was her boss. "Amelia," Mrs. Patterson said gently. "Are you okay?" Amelia swallowed. I think so. "Take today off," her boss said firmly. "We're proud of you. Whatever happens next, you have our support." Tears burned Amelia's eyes. At the same moment, across the city, the Whitmore estate was in chaos. Nathan paced the living room, suit jacket discarded, phone pressed to his ear. "No, you don't understand," he snapped. "We need this taken down. Immediately." His publicist's voice crackled through the speaker. "It's everywhere, Nathan. We can't erase it. The narrative is already set, and it's not in your favor." Margaret Whitmore stood near the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. "This is sabotage," she said icily. "That man planned this." Nathan spun on her. "You told me she was nothing." Margaret's eyes flashed. "She was nothing, to us." The door opened. A housekeeper entered hesitantly. "Ma'am, reporters are outside." Margaret closed her eyes briefly. Meanwhile, Lucas Hale sat in his penthouse office, reviewing reports with calm precision. "Stock response?" he asked. "Positive," Daniel replied. "People are calling it the classiest shutdown of cruelty ever recorded." Lucas nodded. "Good. And Amelia?" Daniel added carefully. Lucas paused. "I won't let this hurt her." But the truth was, the world had already decided. Amelia wasn't a victim anymore. She was a symbol. By noon, interviews flooded in. By afternoon, the full story surfaced. Former Whitmore employees spoke anonymously about Margaret's cruelty. About how Amelia had once defended staff who were mistreated. About how she'd been quietly pushed out when she refused to become polished enough. The narrative flipped. Then came the revelation that truly shattered the illusion. A journalist uncovered records from the Whitmore Foundation. Donations that had quietly disappeared. Funds redirected. And one name attached to the internal whistleblower report filed months ago, never acted upon. Amelia Brooks. She hadn't just walked away from the Whitmores. She had reported them. That evening, Amelia sat across from Lucas in his living room, stunned. "I didn't know they'd buried it," she whispered. "I thought it went nowhere." Lucas leaned forward. "It didn't. It just waited." News broke within hours. Investigations launched. Sponsors pulled out. And Nathan Whitmore's carefully constructed world began to collapse. He watched the news in silence as the anchor spoke. "Sources confirmed that the Whitmore Foundation is under formal investigation for financial misconduct." His phone buzzed. A single message. "We need to talk. Amelia." They met in a quiet public place. Nathan looked smaller than she remembered. "I never meant to destroy you," he said weakly. Amelia met his gaze, calm and steady. "You didn't destroy me. You revealed yourself." He swallowed. "You embarrassed me." She nodded. "That's how accountability feels." She stood, leaving him there. Unimportant. That night, Lucas joined her on the balcony of his penthouse. "You didn't ask for this," he said softly. "No," Amelia replied. "But I won't run from it." The city lights reflected in her eyes, not fear anymore but strength. The day respect finally won. The courtroom was really quiet. It was even quieter than Amelia expected it to be. Amelia thought it would be louder. It was not. The courtroom was very quiet. No chandeliers. No champagne. No polite laughter hiding cruelty. The room has wooden benches and neutral walls. The steady rhythm of truth is finally being allowed to speak. This is the sound of the truth. The truth is finally speaking. Amelia was sitting in the row. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her spine was straight. Amelia wore a cream blouse and dark slacks. There was nothing about what Amelia was wearing. Amelia did not want to make a statement with what she had on. Amelia just wanted to be. She had come to close a chapter in her life. The woman wanted to put the past behind her and move on. She felt that it was time to close this chapter and start in one. Closing a chapter was not going to be easy for her. The chapter she was trying to close was a part of her life. Nathan Whitmore was sitting across the aisle next to his attorneys. His shoulders were really tense. His jaw was tight too. Nathan Whitmore did not look confident at all. The Nathan Whitmore who used to think the world owed him respect now looked like a man waiting to find out how much he was going to lose. Margaret Whitmore was not present. The newspaper articles all said it was because of health reasons. They kept saying that health reasons were the issue. The papers just said health reasons, that is all. Amelia thought that was cowardice. The judge walked into the room. The court proceedings began. What happened next was really not exciting. It was not like something you would see in a movie. It was devastating. People read the documents loud. They looked into the accounts. Found out where the money was going. Some of the donations were not going where they were supposed to go. The contracts were changed in a way that was not right. Many people came forward to talk about what they knew. This included employees and old partners. There were also people who had been too scared to say anything for a time, but now they were telling their stories. So Amelia's name came up. They were talking about Amelia. Then someone said Amelia. Not as a victim. As the whistleblower. The investigator said that she pointed out some problems inside the company. She was treated like she did not matter. The company got rid of her and did not let her be a part of the important decisions. Amelia felt that her breath was becoming steady now. Amelia was feeling a little better because her breath was steady. She did what was right even when it was really tough for her. She lost everything because of it. She had done the thing, and that is what mattered even when it cost her everything. Outside the courthouse, a lot of reporters were waiting around. The cameras were taking pictures and flashing lights everywhere. People were holding out microphones to get a statement from someone at the courthouse. Amelia came to a stop. She said that she will not be making a statement, and she said it in a calm way. The woman thinks that justice does not need people to put on a show. Lucas was standing next to her. He was not touching her. He was not shielding her from anything. Lucas was there with her. By evening, the verdict was clear. The Whitmore Foundation is no longer around because it was dissolved. The Whitmore Foundation does not exist anymore. Assets frozen. Charges pending. And Nathan Whitmore's name, once synonymous with privilege, was now a cautionary tale. Time went by. A few weeks passed. The world just keeps going, it always does that. The world moved on. That is what the world does. Amelia's life was not the same as it was before. Things had changed for Amelia. Her life was really different now. Amelia was not living the life she had before. The thing grew. It really did grow. The thing got bigger. Grew some more. She got an invitation to talk. Not about being humiliated. About being a person with integrity. She was going to talk about being brave in a way. What does it mean to stand up for something when nobody is paying attention to the person who is standing up? Like the woman who was invited to speak, she was going to talk about integrity and quiet courage. The Children's Literacy Foundation got a big donation from someone who did not want to tell people their name. This donation is the one the Children's Literacy Foundation has ever received. Lucas never took credit. One evening, months later, Amelia stood on a small stage at a community center opening. Children laughed behind her. Parents smiled. Hope filled the room. She finished her speech and stepped down. Lucas waited. "You ready?" he asked. She smiled. "I've been ready for a long time." They walked out together, not as a scandal, not as a spectacle, but as equals. Somewhere far away, Nathan Whitmore watched the news from a small apartment, learning what it felt like to be ordinary. And Amelia Brooks? She had learned something far more valuable. Respect isn't taken. It's earned by how you treat people when you think no one important is watching.